Well, let's return now to the situation in the Middle East. Australian citizens in Israel are being urged to leave after Israel attacked Iran this afternoon in a move that threatens to push the Middle East even deeper into conflict. Let's bring in senior analyst with the Australian Strategic Policy Institute, Dr. Malcolm Davis now. Thank you so much for joining us. How significant is this for the region and geopolitics at large?
Look, I think it is significant in the sense that what you now have is Israel retaliating against Iran's attack on Israel directly against Iran. So it sets a new precedent in terms of both Iran and Israel have attacked each other's territory from their territory. And I think that that's highly significant. It does potentially open the door to a more destabilized, more unpredictable Middle East, because you might see a scenario, for example, where Iran tries to attack Israel through its proxies and Israel responds against Iran directly, and then Iran retaliates. It's that risk of a destabilizing, escalatory tit-for-tat cycle that now is in front of us.
Well, Iranian officials this afternoon told Reuters that there are no plans for retaliation against Israel. Do you believe them?
Look, I don't think the Iranians are going to retaliate right away. And I think that probably it is in the interests of the Iranians to de-escalate the situation. But the Iranian regime is highly factionalized. It's not a unitary, coherent entity. And you've got various different factions within the regime who have their own agendas. And basically, you could see a situation occur in terms of miscalculation or deliberate grey zone action at some point in the future that could then generate more escalation. No, I don't think the Iranians are going to retaliate here and now, but it does raise the potential for instability going into weeks and months ahead.
Yeah, and it's already such a volatile situation. What could this mean now for Australia?
Well, I think that's a classic example of what this means for Australia is watch what happened to the oil price today as these attacks were unfolding. It shot up by 4%, I believe it was. And that would have a direct impact on inflation, cost of living here in Australia, not to mention, obviously, Australian citizens in the region. So we are in a globalized world where actions and choices interact and affect everyone else. And supply chains from the Middle East that provide fuel which is then refined in Southeast Asia and sent on to Australia could be disrupted if there's conflict in the Persian Gulf. We can't ignore what's happening further afield beyond the Indo-Pacific region. We do have to respond to these challenges, and everything is linked into everyone else. It's a significant risk.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way. Do you think, Malcolm, that Israel enforced these consequences on Iran because nobody else would? I mean, Joe Biden told Netanyahu that the US won't support any Israeli counterattack against Iran. Do you think that this was the case?
Look, I think it was unrealistic for the Americans to expect the Israelis to do nothing in response to that big Iranian attack last weekend. The Iranians launched 350 drones, cruise missiles and ballistic missiles against Israel. It was only through the effectiveness of Israel's integrated air and missile defense system and the actions of the US and the UK that meant that attack failed. And I think that it's highly unrealistic for the US then to say to Israel, that's it, call it a win and don't do anything. Israel was always going to retaliate against that attack.